Hey guys, and welcome. Norse mythology has been one heck of a ride in God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok. However, what's going to happen going forward? What new mythologies will we visit next and continue the story within? Well, today, I want to detail every hint and secret that we've been given in God of War Ragnarok around potentially what we should expect to come next. Now, you know as much as I do that Santamonica are very sneaky with the things that they do in these games. Very subtle hints and teasers here and there that may not make too much sense in the current game, but when we reach the next game, that's when we look back and think, okay, that was a really sneaky thing for them to do. And I'm sure there are plenty of those within this game that we're not too sure about just yet. I hope everyone's had a really good Christmas. I had a pretty grindy last 2 months, so I took a bit of a longer break over Christmas, and to be honest, the start in the middle of January is looking quite bleak at the moment, with not really any games coming out within that period of time, so we're going to have to find something to fill that gap. But February, though, is where it picks up with some absolutely huge releases. But leave a like on today's video, that would be very much appreciated. Also, why not consider subscribing to the channel as well for plenty more story-based content coming in the near future, as often as humanly possible. But let's dive straight in. So, to begin with, let's talk about exactly what Santamonica have hinted to us so far from themselves internally, and from Eric Williams himself too, in multiple interviews. And it's all very interesting, but I think it pretty much nails what we're potentially going to see, and points us in the right direction for some really interesting theories, which we're going to listen to in this video. So, a big uproar in the community occurred when Eric Williams himself told us on the IGN spoilercast that Tears' 6 animations all had a very real meaning, potentially where he's been travelling to, and it could hint us to where we're going to go forward. 2 of the animations being very key here, the first, meditation, and the second, Tai Chi, both seemingly hinting towards Asian mythology, right? Well, actually, there's a very good chance that we could indeed be moving to another area of Asian mythology. Now let me explain in a bit more detail. One of these big areas I believe that Santamonica are going to incorporate into this next game is potentially Hinduism or some form of Indian mythology. Now, not only did Santamonica mention that Tears animations were important and that they could hint as to where we could potentially be going, and that all of them have some form of meaning, but it was also hinted at by them that Angrboda's fighting style was very important as well. Angrboda's fighting style is very unique in a sense that she utilises the likes of paint bombs to shock and damage enemies. There is a very similar thing that takes place within Indian culture, and that's named the Holi Festival, where it's just paint everywhere, a celebration involving the many different colours out there in the form of powdered paint and coloured water. And it looks great fun, by the way. But this is very similar to the style in which Angrboda fights. So again, another hint towards Indian mythology there, or some form of Asian mythology incorporated into that. Look, some people out there could just say that it's because she's a painter, so that's the way that she fights. But with Santamonica saying that Angrboda's fighting style means something, and 2, if we all take a step back here and look at Santamonica's track record, we know these finer details here always carry meaning. There are so many different gods and figures within Indian mythology that could be a really cool opportunity to explore and to have Santamonica really go in depth with it. So of course, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, but that's point number 1. Now, the next little hint and couple of teasers that we get is as we progress through the game, and it's actually relating to Tyr. Now yes, Tyr's 6 animations do all have some form of meaning, but that's not the only thing here. Tyr had a selection of artifacts and items in which he had left behind after his travels of the world. A few standout collectibles are the Maya statue and the Ankh symbol. I've probably completely butchered the pronunciation of that, but anyway, it's on the screen right now. And both of these directly lead to Egyptian mythology in some way or other. Another being a ceremonial dagger, known as the Keeler dagger, found in Midgard when we come across Tyr after we'd freed him from Niflheim's prison. However, this dagger is normally associated with Buddhism, so another hint as to where we could be going next and to where Tyr has travelled to. There are 6 items in total, but these 3 are the ones that really caught my eye the most when going through the game. And again, Egypt is a very heavily mentioned location, and even sort of the Asian region as well, with India, China, Japan, Celtic, all of those different mythologies within there somewhere. So it's definitely interesting, and that's why I believe that we may not just have the one mythology going into the next game. But let's move on to the big one, number 3. So number 3, we have to move slightly away from Ragnarok now, but we're still sticking on the topic of other mythologies of course, but what I want to do is focus on Buddhism for one moment. This could definitely work in some way if the teams did incorporate the likes of demons and other things within that sort of religion into the game, very similar to what they did within a novel called Journey to the West. This novel was written a long time ago and incorporates many different mythologies into sort of one big story, and it's really cool and really interesting to have a little bit of a read through of what it is. We have Buddhism, Taoism and even Chinese folk mythology, with a very famous character being involved named the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, a legendary mythical figure in the 16th century Mandarin Chinese. However, really interestingly enough as well, there's a game coming out within the next year, 2023, called The Black Myth Wukong, pretty much based around this novel and covering the entirety of that story or thereabouts. This type of story progression really suits the overall narrative of God of War Ragnarok and its overall direction, as the novel itself incorporates multiple different mythologies into its plot, like God of War are now doing with the likes of Greek and Norse at the moment. And the main character, Sun Wukong, is especially interesting to me here. Sun Wukong was originally imprisoned for rebelling against the heavens, and during the story, we saw Sun Wukong working as a companion with one of the Buddhist gods, and by the end, reaches spiritual enlightenment, and is forgiven for almost all of the sins that he had carried out beforehand, and rebelling against the heavens at the start. Now, who does that remind you of in some way or other? Kratos, Greece, changing from that god of war that he was, that god killer with no remorse, to being that good god of war, rallying people into war against the evil and coming out on top, essentially reaching spiritual enlightenment. However, not only this, the similarities do not stop there. Sun Wukong also houses the ability to shapeshift very much like Atreus or Loki into different creatures, and is also known for his mischievous actions and being a bit of a trickster, very much like Loki in Norse mythology. Could these characters meet and partner in the next mythology? Could Kratos and Atreus follow the story of Sun Wukong and this novel? Could Sun Wukong's overall story within this novel be the inspiration behind the journey that Kratos and Atreus may go on to? Maybe Sun Wukong could in fact be with them both in the story in some way or other. It could even be a case that Sun Wukong could be a bad influence that turns Atreus and Loki against Kratos completely, or have Loki rebel and do terrible things. Or could he work with Kratos whilst Atreus is out doing his own thing, searching for the giants? He could rather be in the story or rather be a part of the story or an influence on the story to show us what Kratos and Atreus' story will look like in this next game. And personally for me, I think that makes the most sense. You have to remember that we haven't really seen Atreus or Loki be that trickster yet that he's known as within Norse mythology. So maybe this is where we finally see that, and could it be of the influence of Sun Wukong? So in order to follow this, it could take us through the regions of India and also Central Asia. Why does it have to be one mythology that we go to next? Why not incorporate multiple locations or regions and have the gods from each mythology in their own section of that game? Just think of the amount of games that you can push out relating to Indian and Central Asian mythology alone, and then you can bring the likes of Celtic in, Egyptian here in there as well, even refer back to Norse and Greek every now and then. There is so much potential with doing something like this, and with God of War now going into like a multi-mythology kind of game and story, why not do that? This would also massively make sense in relation to Tease animations. His animations are massively reminiscent of Indian and Asian mythologies and also cultures, so we could very well be on the right track with this one here. But as usual everyone, let me know down below. But ultimately everyone, what do you think about these points? I think these are 3 solid arguments and theories as to where we could go next or what we could potentially expect. And not just implying that one mythology is going to be enough for it, but maybe 2 or even 3 could be there as well. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. It doesn't matter how crazy these theories are, I'd absolutely love to know what you guys think about this and where you think we're going to go next. But I hope everyone has enjoyed today's video. Leave a like if you have, it'd be very much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel as well for more content coming. It'd be very, very much appreciated. Have a great new year, everyone, if we don't see each other before then. And we'll see everyone next time.